Bruce, seriously? Gotta get comfy, right? So I have no idea what I'm doing. If I don't know where to look, I don't know where to look. Um, this is going to be very traumatic for me, and it's pretty much my only option. I've got to get the word out there. I got to share my story somehow, and hopefully get it passed around enough so that someone who can help can help. It's a basic story, you know, the typical one that you get shoved around everywhere, where, you know, girl meets boy, boy meets girl, and there's an attraction, and then they get married, and then, you know, it turns into a narcissistic clustercluck. Except for the fact that narcissism is so small in comparison to what I've been dealing with. The best way to imagine it is like Gaston, okay? Because my ex-husband is technically French. And so I nickname him Gaston because he is very much like the character Gaston, except much more intelligent. So if you had a higher intelligence Gaston with just as little emotional intelligence and really nasty, way worse than just narcissism, I'm not qualified to diagnose him, but I am qualified to look up enough information and talk to enough people. And I have 25 plus years of being a volunteer life coach with a lot of experience working with the military, just regular people all over the world. I mean, you name it, I've worked with people, you know, whoever needs it. And I'm pretty aware of what sounds like, and like I said, I can't diagnose, but he really demonstrates a lot of dark triad or possibly dark tetrad personality traits, behavior patterns. I mean, if I look back through all of the stuff with that one medical book, he fits all of the criteria for sadism. But dark triad is basically a mixture of narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. The tetrad adds in the sadism. Without any of the fun side of BDSM, he's a lot like Mr. Grey from 50 Shades of Grey. And that is really unhealthy. Not just the bad writing. It's like, It might have been translated better into other languages, but it's dark. And what I've been dealing with is extremely dark. And if it was just me, fine. But it went on to each of my children. And now my oldest is 25. He's escaped. He's now back in the United States. My middle one is 21, going to be soon 22. He can't work here because he got hit by a drunk driver while he was on a scooter back in 2018. And he doesn't get proper disability, so he can't function here. And he had to drop out of school because the school didn't work with him, even though he had what they call a PAE, which is, you know, a helping program to, you know, whatever you need help with, they'll help with, and they didn't. And at the time, he was under the care of my ex, and my ex didn't. And then it went to my youngest, who's 16, and 16 is the only one where the law got involved, where anyone actually listened. Technically, my oldest had it the worst out of the boys. But my youngest has it different because he got to see the abuse, and we were all, to an extent, brainwashed into believing that that was normal, how to deal with it, how to cope with it. And because my youngest was the only biological child to my ex, he got indoctrinated into the favorite child. And so when my youngest started coming out of the toxicity, when he started waking up to it, he realized just how much he had done to his brothers. So he's kind of got something similar to survivor's guilt. And we're stuck here in France. I got abandoned shortly after I had a stroke at age 34. The divorce proceedings was built up in a nice way that, yeah, don't worry, it's going to be fine. Everything, you know, it's all pretty, it's all nice, it's whatever. And then he just blindsided me and traumatized me the entire way, and I couldn't function. I could barely speak French at the time because of the stroke damage. I never got anything translated, so I don't even know what kind of stroke I had. And that's 10 years later, and I can't even sue because, long story. But he basically stole 2 of my boys, and he trapped me and my oldest here, and there was no help. And I had to figure out the system all by myself, which I did badly, but I did it, kind of. But the problem is that everyone that I kept working with ended up doing more and more damage, and then the next person kept perpetuating the damage, and more trauma built up. And now it's to a point where the courts are involved. They want to take my son away. He's been with me now for a year, and every court appearance, they keep causing more trauma, more damage, and being horribly unbiased. At no point are any of our human rights being respected, let alone our citizen rights for France or the United States or for Europe or wherever. My passport is expired, so I'm trapped here. They don't have passports because my ex did decided, well, it's not really important. So their passports are vastly out of date, and my ex has blocked any chance of us leaving legally, and running isn't an option. It's just not an option. He's too highly intelligent and too dark. So we're trapped here, and I need help. The lawyers that me and my son have are nice. They help. They speak English, which is great. But they don't keep me educated on what the system is or how anything works. And the court here, they're so fucking abusive. For nothing. For absolutely nothing. And because of the stroke damage, I can speak French and I can speak decently, but there are huge portions of the language I don't have. It's just, it doesn't exist in my brain. Like anything for the pleasantries, for being polite, I don't have those. I never got those. I was kept ignorant and I was kept isolated. And for any of the fear or the ability to defend myself or to speak up for myself, I don't have those. And anything I do have isn't polite enough. It isn't nice enough. It's and I can't conjugate all the verbs, and my brain just kind of shuts down, and I start to have bilingual aphasia. And the more I go into a complex post-traumatic stress disorder, my head overheats, and my head is really hot right now, and the veins pop out more, and there's vascular issues, and I start to lose words not only in French but in English, and I can't function. I've almost come close to passing out at the supermarket a couple of times in the last 2 weeks because of the heat, because I can't regulate my body temperature. And it's from every angle. If it was just him, fine. If it was just him and me, fine. But it's all encompassing. The government assistance doesn't help. The organizations that are supposed to be helping for women and children and for all kinds of things, they don't help, and I'm region blocked, so I can't, and I'm kept in abject poverty. I don't even get medical assistance because of the fact that I should be handicapped, base minimum for the stroke, but I've also got autoimmune disorders, I've got other things, and no one believes me, and I've been so traumatized. The last therapist person that they ordered me to see because of the government assistance, he spent less than an hour talking with me, did not hear anything that I said, specifically about the stroke, about how the medication that they put me on after the stroke damaged my heart. And he immediately wants to put me on some kind of antipsychotic that you have to have an EKG for because it can, give you a heart attack. I'm like, no, I already have a weak heart. Thank you. No. And after further analysis of the medication, the only reason he wanted to give it to me is because it can help insomnia. But on further investigation, it only helps insomnia if it's high enough dose and it's long enough usage. And it's coincidental as opposed to, it's not meant for. And it also, ups your risk of stroke. And it's like, no, thank you. You're not going to kill me. I don't think so. Just because you want more money in your pocket? No. So I keep trying to reach out, but I'm region blocked. That means I can only get emails out to people, and no one answers their email. I can't call anyone, and anyone I have called, anyone I have emailed, it's nothing. My brain hurts. It really hurts. But all the damage to my face, so much damage to my body, I'm exhausted. I'm just exhausted. And I'm going to try and tell my story little by little, get it out there, and hope that someone can help. I'm Shala Radio Lady on multiple platforms. If you want to check out the videos I've already posted on Instagram or the pictures there. On TikTok, it was Trapped with Cats. I was trying for anonymous, but I can't. Laconic is not my middle name. I can't do Laconic. I don't know how. And this has dragged on so badly that I can't organize my thoughts. They're everywhere, and and the damage from all of it, the deeper I go into a panic attack, the more I have different types of learning disabilities that come out that I didn't have before. I have auditory dyslexia after 1 to 2 hours of hearing French. I have written dyslexia when it comes to the French. I can't. It's just no. Because this has been dragging on for a minimum of 15 years, but definitely the last 5 have been the worst. If I get too upset, I start to show autistic behavior. I have a lot of friends that are Aspies, and when they get upset, there's certain mannerisms that they do, and I start recognizing that in myself, and it's like, I didn't have that before. There are serious brain changes, and I need to go to the doctors. I have so many things that need to be done, and that weren't done because of horrible, not just the normal medical gaslighting, and not just in 2 different countries with 2 different languages, no, but the physical abuse, and I can't, and okay, that's not a bug, and it's just, it's too big, it's been going on too long, so I'm gonna try and shrink it down and take it step by step, but we need help, and he's to the point where he's been suicidal since he was 12. This last year is the first year that he's been able to not have to wear a mask on who he is as a person. So obviously it's my fault that he's showing any kind of bad behavior in the eyes of the court. How dare he all of a sudden have a personality switch because he no longer has to hide who he is, and he has to no longer hide the trauma from his abuser. But obviously it's my fault. And getting him a therapist here is it's not an option. Because we can't find one in English. And anyone that is in English is way, way far away, and we don't have the means to get there. And there's all kinds of other issues and trauma, and long story. It's a very long story. And I'm tired of being resilient, and he's to the point where it's no longer just suicidal ideation. If we're trapped until he's 18, he's already said that by the age of 17, he's going to go after his father. And because of how horribly toxic the court has been, which I will go into later, he's come real close to hurting others. And he's to a point where if he blacks out and goes into a blind panic because of his trauma, and if he's pushed too far, he will hurt other people. And he won't care until afterwards, because it'll just be too intense. And it's been too repressed for too long. And he is just too desperate. And I have done everything in my power to keep myself, to keep each of my boys alive, and to keep my ex alive. Because each of them have had ideations. Because it's been that bad. But you know how it is. Good guy, good looking, professional, member of the community, fine, upstanding citizen, knows the language. What am I? Someone who doesn't conform. Someone who speaks the truth and no one wants to hear it. So I'm done. I'm speaking the truth, and I want people to hear it. We deserve better. And if it's happening to us, who else is it happening to? So yeah. Anyway, here comes the farm equipment, and it'll make a lot of noise, so thank you for listening.